Celebrity men aren't always the best role models. Halle Berry's ex-husband recently said that he divorced her because she didn't cook or clean.
She don't cook, don't clean, don't really seem like motherly. And then we start having issues. I just realized this is not the person I want to spend the rest of my life with.
DJ Khaled proudly announced he'd never do certain things in the bedroom for his wife.
Do you lick around the edges?
That's none of your business, sir.
But he expects her to do them for him.
I believe a woman should praise the man, you know, the king.
She told you she don't do that. Is that okay?
Nah, it's not okay because you gotta understand I'm the Don, I'm the king.
And Sean Connery famously said hitting women wasn't too bad.
You did an interview in which you said, not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No.
So maybe we shouldn't even consider them role models. But since I spend far too much time babbling about celebrities anyway, I think it's worth to focus on these men who actually are. Because these men prove you can be kind, vulnerable, and protective without being misogynistic or controlling. That shouldn't be revolutionary, but somehow it still kinda is. And in a time where we apparently have a male loneliness epidemic, and the internet is drowning in alpha male podcasts barking about how women need to stay in their place, it feels a bit like we're going backwards when it comes to the meaning of being a man.
Sorry you had to see that, but you know how it is when you get those manly urges, and you just gotta kill something.
Now, to be perfectly clear, I'm not saying it's completely untrue that some men do struggle and are lonely. And as a mom of a little boy, I am worried. But I'm even more worried about what these conversations about that sound like. Because more often than not, people blame women.
This is a crisis and young men are struggling. So let's start with this graph. It shows that young women are now out-earning young men.
It is true. We have given women so many tools to achieve, but now boys are being left behind.
I'm sorry, those tools weren't simply given. They were fought for.
When the woman in the relationship starts making more money, they become twice as likely to get divorced.
Because traditionally women seek partners who have more economic or social status than they do.
Yeah, this still sounds like women are to blame for having standards and for leaving relationships that don't make them happy.
Emotional intelligence is the new currency in dating. But these guys were raised not to be emotionally intelligent, but to be a provider.
And we're still blaming others. But I do think this is a huge issue. Historically, men have often been lonely. Like they were brought up to hide their emotions.
Are you okay?
Yeah, totally.
The only emotion that was always allowed was anger.
I am feeling the effects of masculinity right now. I feel the testosterone. I want to go to war! I want a lightsaber! I'm a man! War!
But I think it's obvious that this toxic masculinity is still around, with Andrew Tate and tons of other men who talk into microphones because they feel the need to tell the world what real men are supposed to be like.
Men are here! We make fire.
And the worst part is, boys and young men are listening and like what they hear. Netflix's Adolescence made it mainstream just how fast this whole mindset spreads in real life and what it does to boys trying to figure out who they're supposed to be.
What have you done? Dad, you're not reading what they're doing. It's a call to action by the manosphere. 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
Schools in multiple countries are raising alarms because of this growing influence and boys buying into the idea that being a man is about controlling women. By the way, I'm not saying that women are always innocent, and that is just as mind-boggling.
I don't think women should vote.
I would happily give up my vote. What do I even care anymore? Right. You see these liberal women and they're like voting for like rapists.
They love criminals.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
So it's not even surprising that without positive role models, boys turn to those who tell them exactly what they want to hear. Like how great and even better than women they are.
Go to Target with your wife and just sit in the passenger seat of the car and let her pick a parking spot and tell me that you don't fucking die inside. Where are we going?
3 one-ways and a roundabout.
Right. And you were talking to me the whole time about shit I do not fucking care about.
But to them, life is about the journey, not the destination.
Dude, every
and to
woman
men,
I've
it's
ever
about
met.
that damn
It's the
destination.
destination.
And I'm getting to the parking spot,
You
and I'm
said
getting
that
the
we
thing,
were-
and I'm
yeah.
getting back home so I can get in my garage and I can drink beer.
Okay, dude. Yeah, I guess you could make the case that, like, grape is bad for certain people.
No.
For certain people.
No, it's bad for everyone.
No, it's only bad for certain people. Here,
Andrew.
like, there's women, you agree,
No.
who have orgasmed during SA.
Bitch, you better be joking.
And it's not just online. We now have Christian nationalists openly saying that they want to take away women's right to vote.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
In my ideal society, we would vote as households. And I would ordinarily be the one that would cast the vote, but I would cast the vote having discussed it with my household.
There are some who have gone so far as to say that they want the 19th Amendment repealed.
I would support that. And I'd support it on the basis that the atomization that comes with our current system is not good for humans.
Bitch, you better be joking.
That is why we need men in the spotlight using their platform to show that there's another way. Right now, Pedro Pascal is something of the current poster boy for that. The internet's boyfriend of 2025 and one of the most desired men in Hollywood. Because he's nice, funny, outspoken against racism and authoritarianism, and an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. He doesn't hide his anxiety, and he's showing a masculinity that's safe, kind, and incredibly attractive.
Thank you.
It's strength without intimidation, charm without arrogance, and affection without creepiness. But as usual, there's always backlash, and some people, especially those who he called out for their bullshit, accuse him of touching his female co-stars too much.
I can't believe Pedro Pascal's still getting away with this I must touch a woman when I feel social anxiety thing. It's one of the great ruses of this generation. Like, truly, can I get a prescription from his psychologist or therapist? Can I get that guy?
Just my monkey bots here farming outrage 24/7, trashing you online.
Which is ridiculous, as those co-stars have themselves pointed out. There's always someone who complains. Like with Selena Gomez's fiancé Benny Blanco, the songwriter and producer celebrates her success without insecurity and without competing with her.
I just feel safe, and I've never felt that before.
And when he talked about how to work through relationship problems, it wasn't only Selena's heart that melted.
You have to find a way to make it work that's comfortable. You have to talk to your partner. You have to understand them. I think people's biggest problems, especially men, are that we don't listen all the time. You got to listen. Just shut the up and listen. Listen to what they're saying. A woman is going to tell you exactly what she needs. Like when guys are like, I don't know what she wants. I don't know. She told you already. You're just an idiot. You're not listening.
Yes! And yet, some people online still insult him for being ugly, which says more about our messed up priorities than it says about him. Because Benny proves you can stand beside a successful woman and still be a powerful man without making everything about ego. Even the latest movie about the arguably greatest superhero of all time made a point of tapping into that same energy of healthy masculinity.
One of the biggest questions was, were we going to have trunks or we were going to not have trunks?
And my thing was just maybe they're supposed to look a little silly. Maybe the reason he wears them is to look a little silly, basically to undermine how powerful he really is.
He's sort of this terrifying creature, but he really likes kids and human beings and people, and he wants kids not to be afraid of him. And so that was the thing that made me decide to keep the trunks.
Maybe that's the real punk rock. And that's not a dig at Henry Cavill, by the way, who was still great as Superman, and in real life is another example of a good man. He's charmingly nerdy, deeply respectful to fans, and by all accounts, a lovely human being.
Henry Cavill stands up whenever a lady walks into a room.
Just like David Cornsweet, whose Superman feels like an awesome return to the idea that a hero can be joyful and wholesome without being kind of boring.
Do not understand.
I do. I understood that reference.
Just like man can, without being weak. And no, not all women want nice men. The bad boy fantasy is still very much alive and kicking, as seen in the last season of Netflix's You. Before Joe was revealed to be the serial killer that he is, people in the show admired him for standing beside Kate and letting her shine.
Get caught at one Vanity Fair photo shoot holding your wife's purse, and the world idealizes you. The adoring, supportive partner to the high-powered, successful woman, everyone's favorite couple, changing the world together.
And after he went to prison, he still got fan mail, and some real-life fans still think he's cute.
Why am I in a cage when these crazies write me all the depraved things they want me to do to them? Maybe we have a problem as a society.
But the hunger for good men is definitely getting louder. Which brings me to someone who was doing this long before Twitter, Instagram or Netflix. Dolly Parton's late husband Carl Dean. Now, I of course have no idea what he was really like, but they were married for almost 60 years, and while she conquered the world, many people barely even knew he existed.
He don't want me to tell the world nothing about it.
No red carpets, very few interviews, barely any pictures, and not by accident.
My husband just does not want to be in the spotlight.
And with that, they kind of defied all Hollywood norms of celebrity relationships and what it means to be a man.
I don't tell him what to do, he don't tell me what to do, and then what we do together we really enjoy. So I'm very fortunate there because we are real good friends. I do know other people that have more possessive husbands.
I mean, there are of course plenty of examples of celebrities being with a normal partner, but more often than not, it's famous man, unknown woman. The other way around is pretty rare. And if at all, those men are not famous, but more often than not, they're either also in the business, rich, or powerful in their own right. Like, I think nobody has a gap as huge as Dolly Parton and Carl Dean had. But from what she told us, Carl didn't need to prove some public dominance. This constellation between him and Dolly was special even when traditional gender roles were stronger, and he apparently had no interest in controlling his wife's career or image. But today, this mindset is just as radical.
That's rad.
Because this whole toxic masculinity never disappeared, and it's important to remind people, and men in particular, that it's not a competition between men and women. Or as Chris Rock once said,
when you're in a relationship, you're in a band. And when you're in a band, you have roles that you play in the band. Sometimes you sing lead, and sometimes you're on tambourine. And if you're on tambourine, play it right.
In today's world, maybe more people than ever want to be the main character, to be seen and heard and kind of feel significant. And with social media, it's easier than ever. Or at least that's what it looks like. But thankfully, there are also men on social media who try to counteract, expose or explain this toxic crap.
If you're marrying a girl that's not a virgin...
Well, firstly, if you're interested in pursuing marrying a girl and not a woman, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. And remember, men who are obsessed with purity and virginity have the mentality that sex is something that women are supposed to give to men for men, and it's not an activity that men and women are supposed to enjoy together.
One, you're more likely to get cheated on.
Why would any woman want to cheat on you, you stud muffin? You're clearly the prize that they're fighting over.
There was a study a few years back from Cambridge University that showed that men are significantly more likely to listen to other men when it comes to issues about women. And that includes conversations about the right to a safe abortion. And before any guys respond with, well, I thought it was no uterus, no opinion, shut the fuck up. You know what they're talking about. The reality is you're using that as an excuse because you're uncomfortable talking about it. You know what else was uncomfortable? The first time my wife asked me to buy her tampons. But I did it because I'm not a little punk.
I have one daughter. I understand that she by the same father.
Healthy masculinity isn't about being the main character all the time. Sometimes you are the tambourine.
Tambourine, motherfucker, tambourine. Tambourine, motherfucker, tambourine.
Sometimes you're Superman and Clark Kent. Sometimes you're the Mandalorian taking care of Baby Yoda. So yes, Pedro Pascal is a movement. Benny Blanco is relationship goals. David Cornsweat's Superman is the hero we need. And Carl Dean is proof that this isn't new, but worth protecting. Because there are still good men. They just need to step up and shout it from the rooftop without being creepy.
You're the Olympic champion!
Ryan Gosling, describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
Run It by Ava first.
Boys will never understand trying on a cute dress and heels for no reason.
Hi, the boys here, and you are incorrect. I know exactly what it feels like, and it's wonderful.
Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.